What's new in the world, bladies and swordsmen? My name is Cyblade, and as we all know, Monster Hunter Stories 3 now has an official trailer out, which means we're getting the game sometime next year. And it is already looking incredible, with actual adult protagonists, a more mature storyline that shows the world on the brink of war and extinction, and new monsters that so many people wanted to be monsties when they were first introduced, namely Rachnikadaki and Magnamalo. So yeah, the game is already looking incredible, and there's very little for me to complain about so far. Except the fact we're stuck with a Rathalos again. But to avoid any future complaints, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring and suggest a few things that I'd like to see in Monster Hunter Stories 3.
And Capcom, we could always talk about a paycheck if you like these ideas, get a payroll rolling in. I might need to look into a new career if this ID thing is the end of YouTube like everyone's saying.
But without further ado, here is the things I want in Monster Hunter Stories 3. Starting with more new monsties and less subspecies. Now I know, I told a few people that one of the main monsties I'm hoping for in Stories 3 is Ebony Odogaron, a subspecies. But while each game obviously introduces new monsters, not all of those monsters become monsties, such as how Daimyo Hermitar, Duramboros, and Tetsukabra were introduced as monsters in Stories 3, but were not given the chance to be monsties. And I personally think a large chunk of reasoning for that is because so many slots as monsties have been taken up by the abundance of subspecies, many of which do not really change up the monster all that much. There's obviously some that do make a big change, like Anjanath to Fulgur Anjanath, but where there's that one example of a monster being decently changed up by their subspecies, the vast majority offer only the basic of changes, like mostly a color change, like Kezu to Red Kezu, Kongalala to Emerald Kongalala, Lagiacrus to Ivory Lagiacrus, and Royal Lodroth to Purple Lodroth. They're basically the same monster, just with a different color and maybe a couple extra more powerful abilities, but largely the same. I think if we did away with a lot of these subspecies, just kept in the main version of the monster, there would be so much more room to have so many other fan favorite monsters return and be monsties we can fight alongside. But I hear some of you are probably saying, but Sai, there are a handful of subspecies that change the element of the monsters. Why should we leave them out? Well, that leads us into our next point: optimized rite of channeling. Now, I'm sure we can all agree the rite of channeling is a big game changer, being able to give the monsties skills and abilities they would not be able to use otherwise, like turning a Lagambi into a fire monster. However, in neither game was this done perfectly. In Stories 1, one of the main problems with the rite of channeling is that you can only equip a skill gene to a gene slot if the two monsters have that same slot available. For instance, if you want to give a monster a certain ability and another monster has that ability, it has to be in the same slot. Like, let's say the giver has the gene in the upper right corner, so the recipient needs to have the upper right corner gene slot available, and if it isn't, the rite of channeling is not possible, which severely limited a lot of skills you could give to certain monsters, because it seems like no matter how many times you get a certain monster, that one skill you want is always in that one slot. Stories 2 fix this, allowing genes to be placed anywhere you want them, but it also seriously complicated the element system with a multi multiplier system, that monsters gain elemental abilities and such based on a multiplier with how their gene slots are oriented, and their original element will always have an increased rate of leveling up compared to the others. So even if you do briefly manage to change a monster's element, by the time they get to a higher level, the element will shift back to the original. So no matter how badly you want, say, a water Anjanath, it's gonna wind up a fire Anjanath despite your best efforts. Whereas the original Stories 1 kept it simple. It was, hey, your Monstie has these numbers, get the number you want above their highest number now, and they'll change into whatever, what have you. So I say we optimize the rate of channeling and combine the two. The more simple layout of Stories 1 meeting the freedom of editing in Stories 2, allowing us to put genes wherever we want, while keeping it simple, only needing a few water points to get my fire monster to a water monster. Which would then eliminate the need for a lot of subspecies. So if I wanted an Ebony Odogaron, I'd just give a normal Odogaron a lot of dragon points and it would eventually change. But now I'm assuming you're on to the next point. But Sai, what about their cool colors? Just changing their skills won't change their appearance. What if I want the cool Emerald Congalala or Ivory Geocris colors? Well, that brings us to my next point. Monstie customization. Now, we've been customizing our partners for years. Our Palarcos, our Palamutes, and most recently in Wilds, our Sacrets. Being able to change up their colors to basically whatever we want. So that's pretty simple. We change the Monstie's color to whatever we want. So again, if I want an Ebony Odogaron, I just change a normal Odogaron to be black and blue. Again, this eliminates the needs for subspecies, allowing us to have more slots for newer Monsties, and we still keep the appearance of the removed subspecies. So it's like having an Ebony Odogaron without actually having an Ebony Odogaron. A simple solution to a simple problem. And one more simple problem is the fact that for a large part of the game, we are landlocked and unable to fly until our Rathalos somehow discovers its ability to fly or rejoins the party like Ratha did in Stories 1. And in Stories 2, as I just said, our Rathalos is unable to fly for the large majority of the game until he eventually unlocks his wings with the power of friendship. But here's the problem. We get Monsties that can fly a long time before we unlock the ability to fly with Ratha. By the time Ratha is able to fly in Stories 2, you have the ability to have Aulumu, Legiana, or Barioth in your party, all of which possessing the fly ability. If we can have a monster that flies, let us fly immediately. That's all I really ask for. And so those are my big suggestions for Stories 3, but while I'm here, I might as well say some Monsties I'm looking forward to. So Capcom, if you're listening, please consider adding all these guys. Number 1, we have Odogaron. I love Odogaron. It's such a cool, streamlined, gnarly looking, intimidating monster, and I am an absolute fan. I was hoping for it so much when we got Stories 2, and while I did love the game, I was sorely disappointed that Odogaron was not a Monstie. And keeping in the Garen family, we have my next option, Lunagaron. Again, such a cool Monstie, and I really think it would be an interesting system to see how Lunagaron would be able to rise up onto its hind legs if the rider was still riding it. Okay, that might have to be something locked for, like, its kinship attack or something, but I think it'd be interesting to see, like, if it could switch between quadruped and bipedal and just seeing how the rider manages to stay on. Number 3, Malzeno. It is such a cool, beautiful monster, especially Primordial Malzeno. I would absolutely love to see it as a monstie in Stories 3, especially since we know we are getting Rise monsters this time around. And yeah, I think it would be a great pick, especially since it's so intelligent and can actually figure out how to work with people. So it would actually make a good deal of sense to have a monstie like that. It can already figure out how to work with people, so if it's raised by people since birth, it'd be that much better at it. And while I know this would be crazy, I'd also love to just see how they work normal Malzeno into the equation. Like, how would it interact with the Curio, or yeah. How would we deal with having it around when it also has the Curio and everything? How would that work out? I am curious to see. And lastly, since Wilds came out a good deal before Stories 3, I'm assuming that means that it's possible they could add in some Wilds monsters. So, of the available ones, I would personally like to see honestly all of the Apexes, but if I had to pick a few in general, I would like to see Arkveld, just to see again how they'd work in its abilities, its chain whips, and its ability to draw in energy, or yeah, absorb energy from other monsters. I think that would be a really cool skill. And again, with the right of channeling, we could give that skill to other monsties to really make it a game changer. And lastly, rounding out my top 3 of Wilds monsters I want to see, New Udra and Zhu Wu. I know it's a new skeleton, I'm sure that might be a little difficult to work with, but you cannot deny it would be so cool having them in the game, seeing how they fight, how we interact with them, what skills they would possess to maneuver around the area, and just having them in general would be so cool. I'd love them, and I really want them to be in Stories 3. But with that, we have come to the ends of my suggestions. So, let me know what you guys think. Did you agree with what I said? Was it an absolutely blasphemous hot take? Are you just indifferent? Let me know your thoughts down below, and let me know some ideas you'd like to see in Stories 3. I'm sure Capcom would love any ideas we'd offer them. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. If you like this, want to see more, go ahead and slash that subscribe button. If you like this video, give a quick cut to the like button. Leave a comment down below. Share it around with all your friends. Be sure to click the notification bell so you never miss it when I upload a video. And be sure to follow me on Twitter. Then I'll see you guys in the next video. But until then, ladies and swordsmen, stay sharp.